Hello, and welcome to another edition of Give It a Shot, Spotlight Edition. You may be wondering why I am slowly plotting out my dialogue right now. That is because what I watched, An Elf Story, does the exact same thing in 24 minutes. You may be thinking, how is that possible? It's 24 minutes. Keep in mind, I watch a lot of stuff, and sometimes even the shortest things that I view can feel like an eternity. An Elf Story is one such as that. I think my grammar was right there, because that's what this has done to me. So, how did we get here? Well, on a long, cold, snowy night in my parents who loved each other. No, not that. Actually, how did we get to this? So, it's coming along to the holiday season, and I figured I need to do some holiday type stuff, so I picked this out. I've actually had this, I had a sealed copy of this for a number of years. In fact, I think I bought this back in, I want to say 2017, maybe 2018. Whenever Toys R Us was going out of business, I bought this particular copy. I remember exactly where I was. It was at the Toys R Us, one of the Toys R Us in Memphis, and this thing was on clearance, and I said, screw it, I'll buy it. I probably should have kept it sealed, never to grace my eyes or my bowels as it has. I don't know the whole thing about Elf on a Shelf. I know it's a thing. I literally knew nothing about it until memes started coming out, when people would have their elves doing kind of rude things. Before that, I had never heard of it. I knew nothing about it, but apparently this is some sort of book set that people get. It's news to me. It's still news to me. I didn't even know it was a book until I watched this. I just knew it as this thing that people would have them like pooping in hot chocolate or something like that. It was weird. I'm sure some of the images that I'm showing you now can show you what kind of sick, weird humor people have about it. It's disturbing, to be quite frank, that you would pose a thing for children in these gross poses. You need some counseling. Anywho, that's where I know it from. No idea that it was a book, none of that, and I decided to watch it. So what's the story? Well, our little elf here, he is part of the elf on the shelf tradition, which is apparently these little elves are sent to homes, and whatever they overhear the children wishing for, they go back to report to Santa. So wherever they are around the planet, they magically just fly back at night, and then they come back sitting wherever they decide to sit. So they move, and it's a thing that is known. And our hero, I guess if that's what you want to call him, is tasked with a child who is on the verge of non-belief. I can sympathize with that child. I don't want to say I never believed in Santa Claus, but I always had some inklings, and then when I discovered all of my toys in a closet one year, well before the actual day, kind of made sense to me. Like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew that fat man couldn't get around the world as fast as he does. This makes sense. But it's the tried and true trope that we have someone losing their faith in the holiday.
Taylor isn't sure he believes anymore.
What? He doesn't believe? How does that happen?
Well, sometimes it just does.
It does?
Like, not to say that writers don't have any kind of creativity, but this was lazy. But I can't criticize it right now. I gotta talk about the story, stupid. Stick to the story. So anyway, he's tasked with this child, and he has very limited interaction. In fact, he does not even interact with the child. The child is there. He's a little boy who is, losing his faith, but you really wouldn't know it. Like, he still talks to the elf, even though when it's, sitting still. Primarily, I think because his little sisters, who I believe are twins, talk to the elf. And apparently there's other parts to the lore, like you do not touch the elf, because it'll lose its magic, which you learn later on is a thing, and it leads to like the end of the second act leading into the third, for what little acts there are here. It's so, like I say, it's compact. This is only like a 25-minute special, but there's so much nothing in this. If I'm thinking about this correctly, there are 3 or 4 songs in this to just pad out the runtime. Like, you could actually build something about this without the songs, but they're there, and they serve as a way of not necessarily Deus Ex Machina, but just kind of push things through. Like, no one really took the time to write something that was conducive or would actually help the kid. There are inklings of it. Like, the elf has the idea, if I position myself near things that would remind this kid of his affection for the holiday, maybe it'll make him believe. Like, there's an old photo of him, of the little boy sitting with Santa Claus. I mean, that's a good touch, but I also have a question. Why do the parents keep that photo up? Most of them, I've seen photos of children with Santa Claus, and 99% of the time they look horrified. I rarely have ever seen a picture of a child sitting on Santa's lap, his pea-soaked lap, where that child is like legitimately happy. They are usually terrified, and they're definitely not looking at the camera or anything. But through his limited interactions, and really there are none, he does not talk to the boy, he does nothing. It's basically the will of his sisters, who truly believe, that makes this little boy believe. And I have to say little boy, because I don't even remember his name. I think it's McTuttle or something.
Taylor McTuttle.
Like, I just watched this, and I don't remember. That's how nothing this is. And it's probably because of the animation that I have the biggest problem. Just because it's a non-story, I gotta take a shot. Good night! Ugh. Oh! So I'm drinking something called Nos. I'm not sure what flavor this is. Oh, there's an ass. Maybe like an orange juice. Maybe like an orange's ass. If you know, like a mandarin orange has an asshole. That's what I'm drinking right now. Oh God. So anyway, yeah, the story just is bad. I can't do, like, to explain it is just silly at this point because, like I said, for me it was more the animation. This is on a budget, and initially it looks good, but the flaws shine through kind of fast. First of all the face renderings, other than Santa Claus, are pretty much the same. Like, every character looks the same. Sure, they might have different skin tones, or a little bit different height, but by and large, everybody has the same face model. So they cheaped out there. Walk cycles, which is always one of my favorites. Whoa. Just like the kind of acid reflux I'm gonna get from drinking this shit. It's not good. The walk cycles look awkward. The characters, and this is something that I guess is a thing in the lore, like those who get the elf then name it, so it's a nameless elf, which then begs the question to me, what do they call each other before they are named?
I'm Snowflake.
Ha, very nice. How about you? I am Zart.
Whoa.
Ooh, I like that one.
Oh, hey, how'd it go with that boy, Taylor?
Believe it or not, it was Taylor who named me.
Imagine like birthing a child, but never even naming the child for like years. It's just baby or elf. Like, how do you identify each other? And especially with the fact that all of them look the same in the face. How do you distinguish each other? How does this work? So, like, as far as I'm concerned, every special delivery, whatever they call them, so special delivery elves or whatever they call them, mission elves, whatever they call themselves, do they have like an identity crisis? Like, like what goes on there? Which led to one of the fluff pieces, the fact that they had a whole song about naming the elf.
There's Hoppy or Kringle.
Or Biscuit or Doodle.
What about Fiddlesticks?
Dazzle McNoodle.
Burgle Pop Special. Princess is nice.
How about Loser?
Or what about Spice?
That the boy ended up naming anyway. So... I don't know. And like, I get it. This is really just a propaganda. This is an advertising piece. Propaganda. Yes, this wants you to believe in the holy saint of Santa. This is a marketing piece for Elf on the Shelf products because, like, again, I did not know it was a book, and they even show the book and the packaging in this cartoon, this feature, this movie, whatever you want to call this thing at this point, because really, I literally do not care about this. This has no soul at all. But they feature it at length. Like, it is prominent. I mean, it's bad enough that the character is, the product itself, but the fact that they throw in all the other parts of the product, including all the packaging, tells you something about it. And so you have songs by characters who all look the same. There are 3 songs. One about naming your elf. The next, I can't remember what the middle one is. But the last one's about your faith in Christmas.
It teaches us to share, show others that we care.
I don't recognize it because, again, everything is so same and plotting. Like, if there's nothing else that you get from this review, that's what you should understand. everything looks the same, and it just plods along. Somehow, for 25 minutes, this thing plods along and really doesn't drive home a point. Because the elf doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Sort of. It exists. That's the best way I can describe it. And to be honest, like, the boy's faith is restored after he touches the elf and we have our end of second act, like, low point before everything's reclaimed. But he really doesn't. So he falls off a table, and now the boy feels bad because the girls are crying, which probably speaks more to how the family is raised than anything. But it's what you got. So the boy feels bad. He writes a letter to Santa, which, you know, that's the thing that gets me. Like, you have this elf delivery system, but you still accept letters to Santa Claus. So redundancy, I can get it. You know, some people don't have one method of contact, so you have multiple. Hey, I understand that. You know, some people still like to send things through, you know, the postal service rather than email or social media. Cool. Usually those people are also, you know, insane because they're probably making bomb threats or something like that nowadays, and they're still using typewriters, but, you know, they're out there. They exist. Not dismissing them. They are legitimate people. But, like, what is all of this? So, story really doesn't have any relevance here. It's just, hey, we have this thing and let's just throw this in front of people's faces for 25 minutes to remind them it's a thing that people should do. Beyond the memes, because this thing came out in 2011, and I think the memes started coming around, I think it was when I was in grad school, so like 2013, 2014, I think is when the first time I saw the elf memes show up. So it's just kind of weird that all this, but there are some, I will give it a point of praise. There is one thing that happens in this movie that is notable, where the family does the family photo and they do a bunch of wacky photos and whatnot, and they finally have the serious one. That's a real struggle. Family photos are never fun or interesting. Most end up kind of horrifying, and there's always one person who blinks or what looks way off somewhere else. Like, it's a thing, totally get it. That's the only redeeming joke or anything in this entire thing. Oh, no, I take that back. There's another. When they have a shot of a ton of the elves, it doesn't go through like a buffering screen like you see with Barbie Video Game Hero. Like, they somehow managed to do that. And that was done before Barbie Video Game Hero, so kudos on that. Good for you. But other than that, no, there's not a whole lot really going on here. All the characters are the same looking. Everyone has essentially the same personalities, except one character who's named... He's got this really long name, but I think they essentially call him Wordsworth, because he's in a family who likes literature and poetry.
Wordsworth, Longfellow, Byron, Keats, Whitman Frost, the third.
But he's terrible at that. It's like he's a member of the Snake Claws, like the lead singer of that group, which, oh boy, he makes, that elf, Wordsworth, makes, the Snake Claws lead singer, I wouldn't say Tupac, but at least Master P.
Around, for the time has come when I, Wordsworth, shall give you words that rhyme with vowel sounds.
Wow, that's awful.
That's a reference none of you are going to get, and I'm okay with that. But, yeah, his rhymes kind of suck. And he gets upstaged by another elf. So, take this joke as you will.
Guys, at Christmas, you will get
A
a...
stocking full of coal. Compliments of the North Pole.
Why don't you take a stroll?
I didn't much care for it. Ugh. Ugh. Anyway, long story short, this is not very good. This is cynically produced to essentially advertise the book and the elf. Little to no redeeming quality whatsoever. The story is basically non-existent. Like, it's just a boy's inner struggle with faith that's not written very well, regarding an elf that he touches once but feels bad about. Kind of reminds me of a Christmas elf named Kelvin. And that's a movie that doesn't move. I don't recommend ever looking it up, but that's kind of what this reminds me of. Except it has more frames of animation than Calvin, because it doesn't move. Ever. It's a slideshow, but it's a movie that's like 70 minutes. It's like, if you really wanted to torture somebody, you show somebody that.
Nothing Calvin feared.
Stop! Stop! I didn't want you to go!
And you watch their will to live just melt away. And they yearn for the sweet release of death. This isn't that bad, but it's up there. And the only reason why this gets 2 shots is because of how nothing it is. This is so disposable, so not necessarily contrived, but just overdone, that in the grand scheme of all Christmas specials that you've ever seen, this is one of them. That's like the best I can say for it. It exists. Do I regret picking it up from a Memphis Toys R Us? No, because at least it filled a week of content. But, it ain't that great. Kind of like this whole review. It ain't that great, but here we are. So, 2 shots. It's not miserable. It's just forgettable, which is the worst fate any special could ever have, or any movie in general. So, there you go. Elf on the Shelf. I don't know, I guess I'll close with some more lewd photos of the elf doing horrible things, I guess. So, whatever. Enjoy. Bye!